The message wasn't emotional. It wasn't misunderstood. It wasn't said in anger. It was a business offer. I'm keeping the kids unless you pay me. She didn't ask for child support. She demanded ransom. She believed children were leverage. She believed fear was currency. And she believed she was smart enough not to put a felony in writing. She was wrong. I still remember the exact moment my brother's marriage stopped being a marriage and turned into a hostage situation. It wasn't the shouting. It wasn't the ugly divorce paperwork. It wasn't even the day Brianna cleaned out the joint account like she was shopping for a new life. It was a text message. A single line that made my stomach drop so hard I had to sit down on the curb outside the grocery store like I'd been punched. Brianna, I'm keeping the kids unless you pay me. Not unless you pay child support. Not unless you pay what the court ordered. Just pay me. Like my niece and nephew were a rental car she could refuse to return until someone slipped cash under the table. I stared at the screen. My hands went cold. The sun felt too bright. The world around me kept moving, carts rattling, people laughing, holiday music playing out of a speaker near the entrance. And I thought, stupidly, she actually typed it. She actually put it in writing. My phone rang a second later. Ethan. I answered and heard him breathing like he'd been running. She won't hand them over, he said. She said if I don't send her money, she's not bringing them. Where are you? I asked. In the school parking lot, he said. His voice was thin, fraying. I'm sitting here like an idiot. The kids are inside. I'm supposed to pick them up today. I closed my eyes. I could already picture it. Ethan gripping the steering wheel too tight, checking his mirror every few seconds like she might appear, trying to look normal because teachers can smell desperation. Don't send anything, I said immediately. A pause. What? Don't send anything, I repeated. Not $1, not just this once. Screenshot every message. Save the voicemails. Don't argue with her in text. Keep it simple. He let out a shaky laugh that sounded like he didn't believe me. She'll punish me. She'll punish the kids. She's already punishing them, I said. His voice cracked. What am I supposed to do? I looked down at the text again. The words sat there like a confession. You're supposed to document it, I said. And then we're supposed to take it to a judge. He went quiet. A car honked somewhere nearby. In the background, I heard the muffled chaos of a school pickup line. She always does this, he whispered, like he was admitting a shameful secret. Not like this, but she always makes me beg. She always makes me pay. My jaw tightened. Ethan wasn't perfect, but he wasn't stupid. He'd been trained, conditioned. The same way you can train a dog to flinch when you lift your hand, you can train a person to panic when they don't comply. Ethan, I said softer, listen to me. Don't give her what she wants. She wants you frantic. She wants you to break rules so she can call you unstable. He swallowed. Okay. I didn't believe him. Not because he was weak, because he was exhausted. And exhaustion makes you negotiable. The divorce had been finalized 3 months earlier. On paper, it looked clean. Standard custody schedule. Support amount set. Holidays alternating. Both parents required to communicate about school and medical stuff. On paper, it was civilized. In reality, Brianna treated paperwork like a suggestion. She had always been good at playing 2 roles at once. In public, she was bubbly, charming, the kind of person who laughed loudly and hugged too long. She posted photos with captions about blessings and gratitude and choosing peace. Behind closed doors, she was a pressure system. She didn't ask for things. She demanded them, and she had a talent for making you feel like you offered. When Ethan told us he was leaving, my mom cried like he'd announced a death. My dad stared at the wall and muttered, "About time." I didn't celebrate. I didn't even feel relief. All I felt was dread. Because people like Brianna don't lose quietly. They don't accept consequences. They don't grieve and move on. They escalate. The first week after the divorce, Ethan tried to keep it friendly. He offered to pick up the kids early so Brianna could rest. He covered a doctor copay she was supposed to handle because she said she was short. He gave her extra grocery money because she sent a photo of an empty fridge with the caption, "Look what you've done." He thought generosity would calm her down. It did the opposite. It taught her that the kids were leverage, and once someone realizes they can buy control with children, they don't stop. They just get bolder. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, Ethan looked like he'd aged 5 years. He'd lost weight. His eyes were permanently ringed with fatigue. When Mia and Noah were with him, he was bright and gentle and present. When they weren't, he stared at his phone like it held a bomb. One Sunday, I was at his place helping him assemble a bunk bed. He was tightening screws with trembling hands. "She said I'm not allowed to take them out of town," he muttered. "What?" I asked. "We have a weekend. It's in the decree. I was going to take them to the aquarium, 2 hours away." He laughed, bitter. "She said if I do, she'll call the police and say I kidnapped them." I looked up from the instruction manual. "Did she say that in writing?" He hesitated. "She called." I felt my stomach sink. "Ethan," I said, "you need to get her into a co-parenting app. You need everything in writing." He rubbed his face. "I tried. She says texting is fine. She says the app makes her feel controlled." I snorted. "That's rich." He didn't laugh. He looked like he might cry. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Not of her. Of what she'll do to the kids just to hurt me." That was the part no one understood unless they'd lived it. The way the target isn't always the one who gets hit. Sometimes it's the people you love most, because that's where it hurts the deepest. "We're not doing this alone," I said. "Okay? You tell me every time she threatens you, every time she keeps them, every time she demands money." He nodded, but his eyes were hollow, like he didn't believe help was a real thing. The day of the school pickup, I drove straight from the grocery store to the elementary school. I found Ethan sitting in his car at the edge of the lot, hands locked at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel like he was taking a driving test. He looked up when he saw me, and I watched his face crumble with relief and shame. "You didn't have to come," he said. "Yes," I replied. "I did." We got out together. The air was sharp with winter. Kids streamed out of the building in coats and backpacks, their voices bright and unaware. Mia spotted Ethan and broke into a run. "Dad!" she shrieked, barreling into him. He crouched, arms open. "Hey, sweetheart, hey!" Noah followed slower, clutching his backpack straps like they were anchor ropes. He hugged Ethan's leg and looked up at me shyly. "Hi, buddy," I said, smiling. He gave me a small wave, and then, like the universe couldn't let us have 10 seconds of peace, Brianna's SUV rolled into the lot and parked crooked across 2 spaces. She got out like she was stepping onto a stage. Long hair done, makeup perfect, coat too expensive for someone who was always short. Phone already in her hand, camera angled slightly up like she was ready to record. Her smile was wide, bright, poisonous. "Well," she called, loud enough for other parents to glance over, "look who showed up with backup." Ethan's shoulders tightened. Mia's grip on his arm tightened too. "Brianna," Ethan said carefully. "It's my day. I'm picking them up." Brianna laughed like he'd told a joke. "That's adorable." Then she looked at me, her eyes sweeping me like she was deciding which insult to use first. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm family," I said. She tilted her head. "So is a tumor." Ethan flinched. Mia's eyes flicked between us. I kept my voice steady. "You texted him that you're keeping the kids unless he pays you." Brianna's smile didn't move. "Oh," she said lightly. "So you're playing lawyer now." "I'm playing adult," I replied. She stepped closer, phone still in her hand. "You want to talk about messages? Let's talk about the money he owes me." "He pays support," I said. "Support?" she repeated, loud and scornful. "That barely covers anything. Do you know how expensive kids are? Do you know what I sacrificed?" Ethan swallowed. "Brianna, don't do this here." She leaned in, close enough that Mia could hear her, and her voice dropped into something sharp. "You want them?" she murmured. "Then pay me." Ethan's face went white. I felt something hot rise in my chest. I turned slightly so the kids couldn't see my expression fully, and I said very calmly, "Put it in writing again." Brianna blinked, just once. "What?" she said. "Text it," I repeated. "Say exactly what you just said." Her smile twitched. For the first time, she hesitated. Because deep down, under all her shamelessness, she wasn't stupid. She just thought she was untouchable. Brianna's eyes narrowed. "You think you're smart," she hissed. I smiled back, small and cold. "No, I think you're sloppy." Ethan looked at me like he didn't know whether to be terrified or hopeful. Brianna's phone lowered slightly. Her gaze darted toward the other parents watching. Then she plastered the smile back on, turned to Mia and Noah and sang, "Okay, babies, go with Daddy. Mommy has errands." Mia hesitated. Noah looked up at Brianna, searching her face like he was checking what mood she'd be in later. Ethan took their hands carefully, like they were glass. As we walked away, my phone buzzed. A text from Brianna. I looked down. "Brianna, you just made this war. Don't forget who has the kids." I stared at the screen, my blood turning to ice, because that wasn't a threat aimed at Ethan anymore. That was a threat aimed at everyone. And Brianna had just done the one thing she couldn't undo. She put it in writing again. The next 2 weeks felt like living inside a countdown clock. Every day, Brianna found a new reason to remind Ethan that access to his children was conditional. If not on money, then on obedience. If not on obedience, then on humiliation. It always started small. Brianna, "I'm running late. Traffic." Brianna, "Kids are tired. We'll do pickup tomorrow." Brianna, "Mia has a stomachache. You don't want her getting worse, right?" Then it escalated. Brianna, "I need gas money. If I can't afford to drive them, they'll stay here." Brianna, "Babysitter cost extra this week. Venmo me or we'll reschedule your time." Reschedule. As if fatherhood were a dentist appointment. Ethan tried to stay calm. He followed my advice to the letter. Short replies. No insults. No begging. Everything saved. Screenshots backed up twice. Dates and times written down in a cheap spiral notebook I bought him like it was wartime rationing. But calm doesn't protect you from exhaustion. I watched him unravel in increments. He stopped sleeping, started jumping whenever his phone buzzed. When the kids were with him, he hovered like he was afraid they'd vanish if he looked away too long. One night, after he dropped them back off, he sat at my kitchen table and stared at nothing. "She told Mia I didn't want to see them," he said quietly. My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" "She said I was too busy, and that's why I didn't come last weekend." His voice broke. I was standing in a parking lot waiting for her. I felt something snap behind my ribs. "Did Mia say that?" He nodded. "She asked me why I didn't come get her. Like she was apologizing to me." That was the moment it stopped being about money or control. That was when it became abuse. Brianna didn't just weaponize access. She weaponized shame. She posted online constantly. Photos of her and the kids at the park, at restaurants, at Target, smiling under fluorescent lights like a catalog family. The captions were carefully vague. "Doing this all alone." "Single moms don't get days off." "Some people walk away. Some people stay." Friends commented with heart emojis and "You're so strong." People who had never seen her threatened to withhold children over Venmo requests. Ethan stopped checking social media. I checked it for him because I could compartmentalize my rage better. One night, I showed my dad one of her posts. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he handed my phone back and said, "She's not sad. She's advertising." He was right. Brianna wasn't spiraling. She was performing. And she was getting bolder. The breaking point came on a Friday. Ethan was supposed to pick up the kids at 6. At 5:30, Brianna texted, "Brianna, change of plans. You're not getting them this weekend." Ethan's hands started shaking so badly he dropped his phone. "Call her," he said, panic leaking through his voice. "Please." I shook my head. "No, text only." He typed slowly, like each word cost him oxygen. "Ethan, it's my weekend per the custody order." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Brianna, I don't care about that piece of paper." "Brianna, you still owe me for everything I put up with." "Brianna, send $800 tonight and you can have them." I felt my pulse in my ears. "There," I said softly. "That's it." Ethan stared at the screen. "I don't have $800. "I know," I said, "and even if you did, you wouldn't send it." He slumped in his chair. "She knows I can't." "That's the point." He covered his face with his hands. "I can't do this anymore." I crouched in front of him. "You don't have to, not alone." He looked at me, eyes red. What if I just give up weekends? What if I stop fighting? At least then she won't keep hurting them to hurt me. The words landed like a punch. That's exactly what she wants, I said, firm. She wants you gone. She wants the narrative of abandonment. He shook his head. I'm so tired. I believed him. And I still said, we're calling a lawyer on Monday. The lawyer's office smelled like stale coffee and printer toner. Miss Patel didn't waste time on sympathy. She listened, nodded, and asked for evidence. I slid the folder across her desk. Screenshots, dates, missed exchanges, payment demands, threats. She flipped through them slowly, expression unreadable. Then she looked up. She's done, she said. Ethan blinked. What? She committed custodial interference, Miss Patel said. Repeatedly. And these messages? This is extortion. My chest tightened. So what happens? We file an emergency motion, she said. Contempt of court. Request make-up parenting time. Possibly temporary custody modification. Ethan swallowed. Will the judge believe her? Miss Patel's mouth twitched, almost amused. Judges don't care who cries better. They care about patterns and proof. She tapped the folder. And she put it all in writing. Brianna sensed the shift immediately. Her messages changed tone. Brianna, why are you being like this? Brianna, I was just stressed. Brianna, you're turning this into something it doesn't have to be. Then came the guilt. Brianna, do you know what this is doing to the kids? Brianna, you're hurting them by dragging lawyers into this. Ethan stared at his phone. She's scared. Yes, I said, and scared people tell the truth. The truth came out in a voicemail she left at 2 a.m. Her voice was slurred with exhaustion or rage, maybe both. If you think a judge is going to take my kids away, you're insane, she spat. I decide when you see them. Not a court, not you, me. I saved it, backed it up, sent it to Miss Patel. She replied with one sentence, this just got easier. The kids didn't understand any of it. They just knew something was wrong. Mia started complaining of headaches. Noah wet the bed again after being dry for a year. Their teacher called Ethan to ask if everything was okay at home. That was when he finally cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears in my living room while he stared at the floor. I hate her for this, he whispered, and I hate myself for choosing her. I sat beside him. You didn't choose this version. She waited until she had leverage. He nodded, eyes glassy. I don't recognize her. I did. I had seen her entitlement up close for years, the way she kept score, the way everything was transactional, the way love always came with conditions. Divorce hadn't changed her. It had freed her. The court date was set for 3 weeks later. Brianna sent one final message the night before the hearing. Brianna, last chance. Pay me and we forget all this. I looked at Ethan. He looked back at me. For the first time since this started, his shoulders squared. No, he said. And somewhere between that word and the courthouse doors the next morning, something in him stopped breaking. Because when someone tells you your children are currency, the only winning move is to take the transaction out of their hands and let them explain themselves to a judge. The courthouse smelled like disinfectant and old paper, the kind of place where emotions went to get flattened into facts. Ethan and I sat on a hard wooden bench outside the courtroom, our knees almost touching, neither of us speaking. He wore the same navy jacket he'd worn to his wedding. It hung looser on him now. Across the hallway, Brianna paced in heels that clicked too loudly for a weekday morning. She was dressed carefully, hair done, makeup flawless, black blazer, white blouse, morning colors, but fashionable. She clutched a folder like a prop and laughed too loudly at something her friend whispered. She saw us and smiled, not nervous, not ashamed, confident. That was when I knew she still thought she was winning. She walked over like she owned the floor. You really went through with this, she said, shaking her head. Unbelievable. Ethan didn't respond. She leaned in closer, lowering her voice. You could have ended this last night. He looked up at her, eyes steady for once. You could have ended it weeks ago. Her smile slipped for half a second. Careful, she said. Judges don't like bitter exes. Miss Patel appeared at our side like a wall being erected. Counsel prefers communication through attorneys, she said calmly. Brianna rolled her eyes. Oh, please. I don't need a lawyer to tell the truth. Miss Patel smiled thinly. Good. The bailiff called our case. We filed into the courtroom. The judge was already seated when we entered. Judge Holloway, late 50s, no nonsense, the kind of face that had heard every lie twice already this morning. We stood, sat. Brianna dabbed at her eyes with a tissue before anyone had spoken. That was her opening move. Her attorney started with a practiced tone. Your Honor, my client is a devoted mother who has been under extreme emotional and financial stress following a difficult divorce. Brianna sniffed. Right on cue. And while there have been misunderstandings, she has only ever acted in the best interests of the children. Judge Holloway nodded once. I'll hear from the other side. Miss Patel stood. No theatrics, she said quietly. Just facts. She laid out the custody order, the dates, the missed exchanges, the pattern. Then she said, Your Honor, we will now submit Exhibit A through F. She turned on the monitor. The first text appeared on the screen. Brianna, I'm keeping the kids unless you pay me. The room shifted. Judge Holloway leaned forward slightly. Miss Patel didn't pause. She clicked. Brianna, send $800 tonight and you can have them. Click. Brianna, I decide when you see them, not the court. Click. Brianna, don't forget who has the kids. Each message appeared clean, time-stamped, unedited, no commentary, no framing, just Brianna's own words. Judge Holloway adjusted his glasses. Miss Brianna, he said slowly, did you send these messages? Brianna's attorney jumped in. Your Honor, my client was under emotional distress. I asked her, the judge said, eyes never leaving Brianna. She swallowed. I may have said things I didn't mean. Judge Holloway nodded. You meant to type them. A ripple of tension moved through the courtroom. Miss Patel clicked again. A voicemail transcript appeared. I decide when you see them. Not a court, not you. Me. The judge exhaled through his nose. That's quite clear, he said. Brianna shook her head quickly. I was angry. He provoked me. He always does this thing where he plays innocent and— Stop, Judge Holloway said, holding up a hand. This is not a feelings hearing. Brianna froze. You withheld court-ordered parenting time, the judge continued, voice even. You conditioned access to the children on additional payments. That is custodial interference. Her face went pale. Miss Patel spoke again. Your Honor, we are requesting immediate make-up time, contempt findings, and a modification to prevent further interference. Brianna's attorney leaned in and whispered urgently to her. She shook her head, eyes darting. I was just trying to survive, Brianna blurted. He left me with nothing. Judge Holloway looked at the support order. You receive support. It's not enough, she snapped. That is not for you to decide, the judge replied flatly. He paused, then looked directly at her. I want to be very clear, he said. Children are not leverage, they are not bargaining chips, and they are not collateral in a financial dispute. Brianna's mouth opened, closed. The judge leaned back in his chair. Frankly, he continued, I'm grateful these messages exist. It saves the court a great deal of time. He turned to Miss Patel. I am granting the motion. Ethan's breath hitched. Judge Holloway continued, reading from his notes. Immediate make-up parenting time. All future communication through a court-approved co-parenting app. No direct contact. Failure to comply will result in sanctions. He looked back at Brianna. And if you withhold these children again for financial reasons, I will revisit custody. The word custody landed like a dropped plate. Brianna's composure shattered. You can't take my kids, she cried. They need me. Judge Holloway's voice softened, just a fraction. Then act like someone who puts their needs first. Silence. The gavel struck once. Next case. Outside the courtroom, Brianna exploded. This isn't over, she hissed, eyes wild. You think you won? Miss Patel stepped between us. This is over, she said, for today, and if you're smart, you'll let it stay that way. Brianna laughed, brittle and high. You ruined me. Ethan finally spoke. No, he said quietly. You did that. She stared at him like she didn't recognize him. Maybe she didn't. We walked away while she stood there, shaking, her performance finally without an audience. In the elevator down, Ethan leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. "I heard him say it," he whispered. "I heard a judge say it." I nodded. Because it was real. The doors opened, and for the first time in months, the air outside felt breathable. The quiet afterward was unsettling. Not relief exactly, not peace. Just the sudden absence of constant threat, like your ears ringing after an explosion and realizing the noise has stopped. Ethan didn't celebrate. He picked the kids up that Friday for his makeup time exactly as ordered. Same parking lot, same time. Police station this time, per the temporary order. Neutral ground, cameras, fluorescent lights. Brianna showed up late. Of course she did. But she didn't smile, she didn't film, she didn't speak. She handed over the kids like she was surrendering evidence. Mia ran to Ethan and wrapped herself around his waist so tightly he had to crouch to keep his balance. Noah followed more cautiously, eyes darting, checking Brianna's face before stepping away. That look broke something in me, because no court order in the world erases what children learn when love is conditional. Brianna didn't say goodbye to them. She stared at Ethan with a look that promised this wasn't forgiveness. It was retreat. The weeks that followed were calmer, but not gentle. Communication moved to the court-approved app, every message timestamped, every word monitored. Brianna's tone shifted from aggressive to passive-aggressive to clipped professionalism. No emojis, no insults, no leverage. She tested the boundary once. She forgot to bring Noah's backpack to an exchange, texted that Ethan could come get it if he wanted. Miss Patel sent one message: "Please comply with the order." The backpack appeared at the next exchange without comment. Brianna never tried to withhold the kids again, because she couldn't pretend she didn't know what would happen next. Ethan changed in small ways first. He slept through the night. He stopped flinching at his phone. He laughed more easily when the kids were around, like he wasn't bracing for the moment they'd be taken again. One night, after putting them to bed, he sat on the edge of the couch and stared at the wall. "I feel stupid," he said quietly. "For what?" I asked. "For thinking if I just loved her better, she'd stop hurting me." I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "People like her don't stop because you love them. They stop because they lose power." He nodded slowly. "I don't hate her," he admitted. "I hate what she did." "That's healthy," I said. "Hate burns. Clarity just stays." The kids started to change too. Mia's stomach aches faded. Noah stopped wetting the bed. Their teacher sent an email saying they seemed more settled. That word stayed with me. Settled. Like their nervous systems were finally allowed to stand down. Brianna tried one last angle. She messaged my mother, not through the app, directly. A long paragraph about forgiveness, about family, about how we're all hurting. My mother showed it to me with shaking hands. "What do I do?" she asked. I didn't hesitate. "Nothing," I said. "No response is the response." My mother cried, not because she missed Brianna, because she finally understood. That engagement was oxygen, and Brianna thrived on it. I went no contact with Brianna completely, blocked number, blocked social media, no indirect messages, no updates through third parties. Ethan did the same outside of the app. At first, it felt harsh, final, like amputating something that used to be part of our lives. Then it felt necessary, because some people don't respect boundaries, they only respect consequences. Months later, Ethan asked me something I didn't expect. "Do you think she ever loved me?" he asked. I thought about it carefully. "I think she loved what you gave her," I said, and panicked when she couldn't control it anymore. He nodded, absorbing that without flinching. "I wish the kids didn't have to pay for that," he said. "They didn't," I replied. "You stopped it." He looked at me, eyes wet but steady. "No," he said. "We stopped it." The last time I saw Brianna was from across a grocery store parking lot. She didn't see me. She was yelling into her phone, gesturing wildly, face sharp with frustration. The same old performance, just without an audience that could be punished. I watched her for a moment. Then I turned away. No satisfaction, no triumph, just distance. And distance, I learned, is sometimes the kindest thing you can give yourself. The judge was right. Those messages made the decision easy, but the real work came after. Choosing not to re-engage, not to explain, not to soften the boundary to make others comfortable, accepting that no contact isn't a tantrum, it's a safety measure, and that when someone tells you, in writing, that your children are currency, you don't negotiate. You document. You protect. And you walk away for good, because love doesn't demand ransom, and anyone who tries doesn't get access to your life anymore. Not ever again. The judge didn't need witnesses. He didn't need character statements. He didn't need opinions. He read her texts. That was the trial. She lost access. She lost control. She lost the right to negotiate. We didn't go no contact to punish her. We did it to stop the damage. When someone uses children as currency, you don't argue. You don't explain. You don't forgive. You shut the door and you never open it again.